Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. Look, before we even get into the absolute earthquake that has just hit New Zealand Rugby, and I do not use that word lightly, I need to tell you, if you want to stay on top of the chaotic, beautiful, and currently insane world of rugby, you need to hit that subscribe button for Rugby Obsession right now. You do not want to miss what we have coming up as this story unfolds.
Absolutely. The landscape is shifting under our feet, and trust me, you'll want to be here for the aftershocks.
Okay, let's get into it. It is Friday, January 23, 2026. The rugby world has woken up to news that feels like a glitch in the simulation. Scott Robertson, Razor. The breakdancing, surfing, fan-favorite messiah of Crusaders rugby has been fired as head coach of the All Blacks. Mid-contract. Gone.
It's a massive moment. I mean, we talk about bombshells in sports media a lot, but this is a genuine detonation. It's rare enough in international rugby to see a coach let go mid-cycle, but for the All Blacks, an organization that prides itself on stability, heritage, and, careful succession planning, it is almost unheard of in the professional era to see it happen quite like this.
Exactly. Usually when a firing happens, the mood is funereal. It's all doom and gloom. But today, our mission is to look at this differently. We're going to parse through the wreckage, sure, but we're going to look at it through the lens of one of the sharpest, most creative minds in the game, Tony Brown. Because while the media is screaming crisis, Brown is offering a perspective that suggests this might be exactly the reset button New Zealand rugby needs.
That's right. We have a lot of material to get through. We have the official corporate reasoning from the board. We have rumors of a player revolt involving perhaps the best player on the planet, Artie Savea. And we have this fascinating interview with Tony Brown. He's currently the attack coach with the world champion Springboks. And he's giving us a really candid, almost philosophical reality check.
So the question we are answering for you today is simple. Is the sky actually falling? Or is the famous All Blacks aura just clearing its throat for a massive comeback? Let's start with the why. Why pull the trigger now in January 2026?
Well, if you look at the official statement from New Zealand Rugby chairman David Kirk, it comes down to a very specific, very corporate phrase. The team was not on track.
Not on track. It sounds like a train delay announcement, not a reason to fire a national icon. It feels very cold.
It does feel cold, doesn't it? But Kirk claims this wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. They conducted an extensive review. Now, in high-performance sport, these reviews are deep. They look at win percentages, sure, but they also look at squad metrics, development curves, and internal culture. The board's initial hypothesis from this data was that the team was simply not where it needed to be to win the 2027 World Cup.
So they are projecting forward. They aren't just looking at the loss column from last year. They are looking at the trajectory toward 2027 and saying, the math doesn't work.
Exactly. Kirk said they talked to the head coach, they looked at the data, and the review gave them a clear direction to make a change. They believe the house is slowly catching fire, even if we can't fully see the flames from the outside yet. They decided to act before the structure collapsed.
But here is where the narrative splits. Because Tony Brown, who, let's remind everyone, is currently running the attack for the team that actually holds the World Cup, looks at the exact same situation and says, hold on a minute.
He really pushed back on this. Brown gave an interview to Newstalk ZB, and he did not hold back. He called the move unprecedented, but his main critique was directly aimed at that not on track verdict. In Brown's eyes, looking at it as a coach who understands the rhythms of the international game, the All Blacks were actually tracking okay.
Okay is such a typically understated Kiwi way of putting it, but let's decode that. What does he mean by okay?
He's looking at performance, not just results. He admitted there were up and down results, which happens. Every team goes through cycles. But he explicitly said the team didn't seem as though they were playing overly poorly. He sees a team that is competing, creating chances, but maybe just not finishing or getting the bounce of the ball. The board sees a crisis. Brown sees the typical friction of a building phase.
And he used a cricket analogy that I think is really important to unpack. He talked about pulling stumps.
Yes, he said when you pull stumps, which in cricket means ending the day's play or declaring the game over, when you do that to a head coach right now, you create a massive situation. He's arguing that the cure might be worse than the disease. By removing the head of the operation, you aren't just changing a tactic, you are destabilizing the entire ecosystem.
Let's talk about that massive situation, because this isn't 2024 anymore. We are in 2026. Why is the timing so dangerous?
This is the critical context. 2026 isn't a quiet year of friendlies. We have the launch of the new Nations Championship.
For those who might have missed the memo on the Nations Championship, just give us the quick elevator pitch on why that matters.
Essentially, it turns the international calendar into a proper league. Every game counts towards a final. There are no throwaway test matches anymore where you can experiment with a new fly half or a new defensive system without consequence. Every test is high stakes. Brown's argument is that by firing Razor now, right before this intense new format launches, NZ Rugby has put the team in an incredibly difficult spot. You're asking a new coach to come in and win a championship immediately with zero runway.
It's trial by fire. And Brown threw a little shade at the administration regarding this, didn't he?
It was a polite shade, but yes. He said, leadership starts from the top, and I suppose New Zealand Rugby Union has got to show the way there.
Ouch. That is a direct hit.
It's the classic fix-your-own-house-first argument. He's implying that the instability we see on the field, the up-and-down results, might be a reflection of the panic or lack of patience happening in the boardroom. If the top isn't steady, how can you expect the team to be?
However, I want to play devil's advocate here. Boards are usually conservative. They hate paying out contracts. They usually don't fire a guy like Razor unless the situation behind closed doors is untenable. And the rumors about the players suggest it was pretty toxic.
You can't ignore the smoke signals coming from the locker room. And specifically, you cannot discuss this firing without talking about Ardie Savea.
We're talking about the World Rugby Player of the Year caliber guy, the heart and soul of the team, the guy who puts the team on his back. What is the word on him?
The reports are quite serious. Sources suggest Savea was seriously unhappy with Robertson. And this wasn't just grumbling about game plans or selection. There were claims that he actually threatened to leave New Zealand Rugby entirely.
When you say leave, do you mean a sabbatical? Because Kiwis do that all the time.
No, the threat was bigger than that. The rumor is he would sign a long-term deal in Japan, or somewhere in the Northern Hemisphere. Under the current eligibility rules, you have to be playing in New Zealand to play for the All Blacks. If he signed a long-term deal abroad, his international career is effectively paused, or even over.
So the board was staring down the barrel of losing their best player because he refused to work with the coach. That changes the not-on-track calculus significantly.
It does. If Ardie Savea walks, you lose your on-field leadership. You lose your talisman. That is a nightmare scenario. It suggests a mutiny. And it wasn't just players. The coaching staff has been a revolving door, which is another huge red flag.
Right, Leon MacDonald left earlier. And that was a shock at the time.
Leon MacDonald left due to disagreements. Then Jason Holland left at the end of last year. When your assistant coaches, the guys who are supposed to be the glue, the guys communicating the vision daily, are bailing out, it suggests the environment isn't cohesive. It suggests people don't believe in the vision.
But this leads to one of the most fascinating what-if moments I found in our research. This actually blew my mind. Tony Brown, the guy currently criticizing the firing, he actually had a chance to be part of Razor's solution.
This is a fantastic detail that I think got buried in the headlines. Brown revealed that late last year, presumably after Jason Holland left and the cracks were starting to show, Scott Robertson reached out to him. Razor offered Brown a job on the All Blacks coaching staff.
Just imagine that ticket for a second. Razor and Tony Brown. They are both mavericks. They are both innovators.
It would have been the ultimate creative ticket. They've been mates since age-grade rugby. They grew up in the system together. It sounds like a dream team. But Brown said no.
Did he say why? Was it because he saw the toxic culture and wanted to stay away?
Surprisingly, no. It wasn't about the environment. It was about integrity. Brown is contracted with the Springboks and Rassie Erasmus through to the 2027 World Cup. He was incredibly emphatic that he honors his contracts.
That is rare in modern sport. You usually see guys jumping ship the moment a better offer comes along.
It is rare, but, and this is key, he admitted he still dreams of coaching the All Blacks one day. And he said something very telling. I would have thought I could coach with anyone.
Meaning, he didn't have a personality clash with Razor.
Exactly. He thinks they could have worked together. He loves innovation. He loves the All Blacks. It was purely bad timing. But it does make you wonder, if Brown had said yes, if he had come in to fix the attack, would Razor still be in the job today?
That is the million-dollar question. If you have Tony Brown running your attack, maybe those okay results turn into dominant wins and the board stays calm.
It's entirely possible. But instead, Brown stayed loyal to South Africa, the results stayed inconsistent, Savea got unhappy, and now we are where we are.
Before we move on to the aura debate, because I know everyone is screaming about the death of the All Blacks mystique on social media, just want to take a second. If you are enjoying this breakdown, if you like getting past the headlines and into the real story of why things happen, please make sure you are subscribed to Rugby Obsession. We do this for every major story, and you need to be part of the community to get the full picture.
It really helps us keep these deep dives going, so hit that button.
Okay, let's talk about the aura. You read the papers, you check the forums, and the narrative is, the All Blacks are done. The mystique is gone. They're just another team now.
It is the dominant narrative. When you have public firings, player revolts, administrative chaos, the shield of invincibility cracks. Opposing teams smell blood. They start fearing the jersey because they see the confusion behind it.
But Tony Brown isn't buying it.
Not for a second. When he is asked about the death of the aura, his response was emphatic. He said, "No way, no way."
I love that confidence. He's an outsider right now, working for the rival, but he still believes in the brand.
He views this situation completely differently from the pessimists. He sees this vacancy not as a grave, but as a clean canvas.
A clean canvas. That is such a positive way to frame a crisis. What does that mean for the players?
Well, think about the psychological weight on the squad over the last 6 months. The rumors, the will he stay or go, the friction with the coach, that is exhausting. Brown believes that with Razor gone, the friction is gone. The players will actually be excited. They get to start again.
It's a clean slate. No baggage.
Yeah.
No he said, she said.
Exactly. It's a chance to build something new specifically for the 2027 World Cup. Brown's point is that the aura isn't the coach. The aura isn't the board. The aura is the legacy and the potential of the group. And that talent. It hasn't gone anywhere.
And we have some massive stages coming up to prove it. The sources mention the Greatest Rivalry Tour and the End-of-Year Tour.
These aren't just games. They are platforms for rebirth. If a new coach comes in and galvanizes this squad, which, let's not forget, is still full of world-class athletes, that clean canvas could turn into a masterpiece very quickly. A few big wins in the nation's championship, and suddenly the aura discussion disappears. The aura returns the moment you start winning.
That is the optimism we need. It's not over, it's just the start of a new, albeit chaotic, chapter.
Yeah.
But we have to acknowledge that outside of Tony Brown, the reaction has been, well, pretty spicy.
To put it mildly, the international rugby community is watching this with their jaws on the floor. Take Fabien Galthy, the France boss.
Oh, he went in on this, didn't he?
He slammed New Zealand Rugby. He compared this situation to the Ian Foster saga.
Just refresh our memories on the Ian Foster saga, because that feels like a lifetime ago.
Yes. That was the previous World Cup cycle. It was messy. Public votes of confidence, assistant coaches getting fired, the media constantly speculating on his job. It was a circus. Galthy is basically looking at this firing of Razor and saying, here we go again. It paints a picture of an organization that is reactive, unstable, and panicking under pressure rather than sticking to a strategy.
And that comparison is damning, because the whole point of bringing in Razor the Chosen One was to stop that kind of drama. And here we are, creating even more drama.
Precisely. And it creates confusion for the players. We talked about Sevilla being unhappy, implying a united front against the coach. But it turns out not everyone was on the same page.
Right. Tomati Williams.
Yes, the big prop.
Yeah.
He came out and reportedly was totally unaware of any revolt. He's reacting along with his Crusaders teammates, and he seems hopeful that someone from the coaching staff sticks around.
That disconnection is wild to me. How can you have a mutiny led by your best player, and half the team doesn't know about it?
That is the definition of a fractured environment. You have silos within the squad, some are in the know, probably the senior leadership group around Sevilla, and some are in the dark, just turning up to work. You cannot win a World Cup with a fractured locker room.
So in a way, that validates the board's decision. Even if the not-on-track data was thin, the fact that the team was split into factions means you had to act.
It might have been the only option, despite the criticism of the board. If the culture is that broken, you have to reset. You cannot have players pulling in different directions.
This is where I want to bring you, the listener, into this. We've laid out two very different realities here. On one side, you have the NZ Rugby Board and presumably Artie Sevilla saying the culture was toxic, the team was fractured, and the results were not on track for 2027. On the other side, you have Tony Brown saying, hey, they were tracking okay, the aura is fine, and you've just made a huge mistake by panicking before the nation's championship.
It's a classic conflict between the data and management side versus the feel and patience of the game.
So we want to know what you think. Was this a necessary surgery to save the patient before 2027? Or was it a panic move that has destabilized the team right before the biggest year in the rugby calendar? And who do you believe more? the not on track verdict, or Tony Brown's reality check.
I'm really curious to hear the listener's take on the Artie Savea aspect. Does a player, even a superstar like Savea, have the right to effectively force a coaching change? Or is that a dangerous precedent for player power?
Oh, that is a great question. If Artie runs the team, why do we need a head coach? Drop your thoughts in the comments or hit us up on social media. We really want to gauge the mood of the fans on this one.
And keep in mind Brown's point about the future. He's looking at 2026 as a massive year for World Rugby. The pressure on whoever takes this job next is going to be astronomical. They aren't just stepping into a vacancy, they're stepping into a spotlight that is hotter than it has ever been.
Soft landing is not a phrase in the All Blacks dictionary, is it?
Definitely not. But as Brown said, that pressure is also a privilege. It's a clean canvas. It's the ultimate job in rugby, even with the chaos.
So as we wrap this up, let's summarize the situation. Razor is out. The board says it was necessary to save the World Cup campaign. Tony Brown says it's a risky mess, but insists the All Blacks aura is alive and kicking. The players are a mix of relieved and confused, and the rest of the world is grabbing popcorn.
That's a fair summary. It's chaotic, yes. But chaos often precedes innovation. The All Blacks have been forced into a corner, and historically, that is when they are most dangerous.
And I want to leave you with one final thought, a little provocation to chew on. Tony Brown made it very clear. He honors his contracts. He is with the Springboks until 2027. He loves the All Blacks. He loves innovation. He sees this next phase as a clean canvas.
I think I know where you were going with this.
If the next coach is just a bridge, or if they build a foundation for 2027, imagine the scene post-2027. Tony Brown, free from his Springboks contract, finally coming home to paint on that canvas he's talking about so passionately. Is this crisis actually setting the stage for the Tony Brown era in 2028?
It's a tantalizing thought. He's certainly keeping the door wide open with his comments today. He didn't burn the bridge with Zealand Rugby, he just criticized their navigation. That's a smart play.
Smart play indeed. Look, this story is far from over. We don't even know who the new coach is yet, but you can bet that as soon as we know, we will be back here to break it down.
We certainly will.
So do not forget to subscribe to Rugby Obsession. We need you on the team. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.